Hello, good afternoon and welcome along to the West Yorkshire Football Show. We're here to discuss Chelsea 1, Leeds United 0 in the FA Cup semi-final. We're going to go through the game, pick out the key points, key discussion points, and we're going to take a look ahead back to Premier League action as well. I'm Stephen Brown. Joining me as ever on the show to discuss everything Leeds United is Jason Booker. Welcome along, Jason. A tired Jason Booker after his journey back from Wembley. You were there, weren't you, mate? Yesterday, long trip back. Always a difficult one as well when you're on the receiving end of a loss. I mean, it's Leeds' Wembley record. I mean, it is mind-boggling. I think that's what I was kind of most left with yesterday was. What is it? 5? I mean, if you include Cardiff as well, because that was, a playoff final, but 5 defeats. No goals scored. I mean, it's an incredibly grim record at Wembley. And, it was another one of those. I think it was different. I do feel at least yesterday we had chances, though. It felt like there was life to it, unlike, perhaps the playoff final against Southampton and a couple of the other games as well. But out of the FA Cup, Jay, the long run, it's over. It's been a brilliant little journey for us, a nice little distraction from the league. It has come to an end. How are you feeling about it now, day after? What are your thoughts, kind of not making it through to the final?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm over it, if I'm honest. I don't know if it's a little bit of a sweetener in the fact that I had such a dilemma with regards to the FA Cup final. I can't lie, I think that's just
pressure there, is there?
Me a little bit, because that were a big stress for me. But I'm always very philosophical. I think I have great perspective and context in the way that I feel about games and matches and whatnot. Chelsea were going into it with poor form, obviously, and we'd taken 4 points off them this season as well, so we're sure we'd been able to get one over on Chelsea. But they're an incredibly, gifted team. They've got unbelievable players. They've spent an absolute fortune on that team, of which has been constructed in, over years and years. The World Club champions, they're still in the battle for European places, and there are, Champions League winners in there. There's the Premier League winners in there. This is not a game really that if both teams were to find each other in similar form, we should be thinking about winning. That's the truth. And yesterday we turned up. I think there were a little bit overawed. I think there were too many that were struggling with the pressure and struggling with the nerves of playing at Wembley, struggling with the anticipation. I mean, the fans were insane yesterday. Me and you both went to Wembley against Southampton, and we both commented that the atmosphere were a little bit difficult. weren't great for either side, and it is difficult because of the size and the way that Wembley's the way that the noise carries. It's difficult to create an atmosphere. Yesterday was absolutely banging. Everybody were there right behind the lads. There were a real belief that we could do something. Whereas I feel like against Southampton, there was so much desperation to win that game. It created too much stress. That didn't exist from the fans yesterday. But still behind the players, there's so much desire from the fans that I think a lot of them struggled with it. I thought, maybe we don't pick players out just yet, but there were so many. There were too many for us to do something about it. And even then, we still created some of the better chances in the first half. The first chance of the game that really should go in comes to us. Brendan gets put through and goal by Calvert-Lewin, and it's a good save. But then moments that can make and break games, and I think it did. I think we scored that. I think Chelsea's heads go down. I think it's a totally different game. But alas, that's football. Then we get away with one where Pedro hits the post. I don't know how that doesn't go in. I'm sat right behind that, and I could not believe it had not gone in. But yeah, and then I think second half, I think we gave ourselves a performance to be proud of in that second half. Yes, we were a bit huff and puff. Yes, there wasn't a lot of individual talent and quality there, but we still created chances. The Calvert-Lewin header, he has to do better. And they had no chances after they scored. They had an XG of 0.25, a record low or something. So yeah, I think we were not actually 0.06 or something. It was
bananas, yeah.
Yeah. So there's still a lot to take from it. There's still a lot of positives. I see it very much in case of this season. Would have never have expected to get to an FA Cup semi-final. If you'd have offered me that at the beginning of the season and 40 points after 34 games, I'd have taken it. Yeah. So I think we have to have perspective on it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think it's a good point about the occasion and the pressure because, you know, Chelsea have won the FA Cup 8 times. They've been to how many times have that football club been to Wembley?
Not necessarily all the players that were playing, but I feel like teams that get there regularly, it's like a walk in the park almost. You know, what I noticed about them, it was, you know, that first half, it was like a carousel, them passing the ball between players. It was like everybody had their first touch, everyone's control was on it, they were relaxed. Whereas, you know, the build up for Leeds all week is like, you know, we built it into this massive historical. We haven't been there for 39 years. You know, you've got the weight of history on your shoulders, and it's a lot. And obviously, the fans are putting all that energy into it. You know, it's a hell of a lot. You know, I mean, back, you know, if you're talking pre-Premier League, different teams used to win the FA Cup every year. You know, it was like, okay, Liverpool dominated a bit, but generally speaking, you know, you didn't have a Man City, Chelsea, you know, these teams that just regularly get to finals, and it's almost like they're so used to it. It's like no big deal almost, you know. It's, I mean, Chelsea couldn't even sell all their allocation for tickets. You know, it's like, could that ever be Leeds? Like, not in this situation, not selling out their allocation. It's like we're all desperate, and I think that does bleed into it. I think, you know, it's fine margins as well, Jane. I think what I'm scratching my head is like, how does not one thing go for you, or just something find its way in? It is a mental record at Wembley and finals if you include card. I mean, it is. I mean, to not get a goal, Jay. I mean, 30 years since we played Aston Villa in the League Cup final. We lost 3-0 that day, didn't get a sniff. Prior to that, you're talking about the 92 Charity Shield, which is a Charity Shield. Before that, 1972. I mean, it's a staggering record. And I think the only cure to it is get there with more regularity, so it almost kind of takes the pressure off and the uniqueness of it and just dials all that down a little bit, because I just think it's a lot.
Yeah, I missed some of what you said there. I don't know if it was my internet or your internet or StreamYard or what, but it went for a bit. I think you're absolutely spot on with regards to like the Chelsea players. They are all internationals. They've played in big games. And even if they haven't played in cup finals or big cup games for Chelsea, just the fact that Chelsea have regularly been in them positions just kind of changes the way that it is for them clubs. So, and you could feel that. I mean, they didn't even sell out their allocation, didn't Chelsea? Yeah. Bear in mind, they're in London. It's crazy, really. There were no atmosphere from Chelsea. They were kind of just, they were there for the day out. It were a bit of a lark. You only heard them when they scored, and that were it. And the players kind of could play with that freedom. They're under a new manager who it's now back on the players because they got what they wanted by getting Rossini out the door. That's the way that player power works. So now they can kind of like, well, I'm going to turn up now and do my thing. And they were very relaxed turning into that game yesterday. I agree with you. I think for a lot of our boys, that'll have been the biggest game that they've ever played in. Some of them, you know what I mean? So you could tell. You could absolutely tell. And yeah, Chelsea just looked all game like not all game. First half, they looked like they were really playing within themselves. They were cool and calm and relaxed. Second half, I actually started to think that the legs had got to them a little bit.
Yeah.
I saw Malo Augusto going down with cramp at one point. I mean, we could talk until the cows come home about the time wasting and the injuries and all the rest of it. We need the officiating in this country to start grabbing a hold of it and doing something about it. I had a look yesterday. I had a bit of back and forth with Downsy about it in the chat last night, that I bet the ball wasn't in play for any more than 20 minutes. It was 21 and a half minutes. It was in play at 40. Well, it ended up being 53 minutes. That's not acceptable.
No, it's not.
It's not acceptable. You know, I shouldn't be paying X amount of money to go down to Wembley, booking a weekend into an FA Cup semi-final to see 21 minutes of second half football.
No, it's
not. No. You know, but yeah, you know, look, that is hopefully character building for this squad and these players and the club. You know, we want to see ourselves back in these kind of games more regular. But yeah, the hoodoo, if you want to call it that. You know, we've now since '96 conceded 9, not scored 1. It's crazy. It's nuts.
I mean, yeah, I shit made it. I was like, sure, you know. I watched it the O2 yesterday, and it was just waiting for that moment we got a goal, and the roof would have come off. Do you know what I mean? It was just to watch us score at Wembley. It would have been absolutely amazing, but not to be. Well, let's drill down into some key moments then and performances. First half, you've talked about there the Aronson chance, and one of the best things Dominic Calvert-Lewin did all day, that first time pass through to Aronson. I mean, I was pulling my hair out with it. I just couldn't believe he'd missed. I felt probably a bit harsh because it is a good save, but I do think with Aronson, this might be a bit touch-ass. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a bit like this. There's certain players where they find a way to miss. It feels like if you put them in a position like that, they just don't have that final bit to put the ball in the back of the net. And I feel like, I mean, Brendan had that purple patch where he was slotting stuff away, wasn't he, against Man United, Newcastle? And then he's gone back to, you know, can't finish his dinner. Now, he does do the right thing. He hits it across the keeper, but I don't know. Just when I watch him in that position, I don't have faith that he's going to ever put the ball in the back of the net, I'm afraid to say.
You know what I think? I think Brendan, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I think Patrick Bamford go into this bucket. They are so concerned with putting the shot on target that they don't think about actually doing enough to score. So to them, the most important thing is making sure they don't miss the target and they hope it goes in. Whereas Noah Okafor, as an example, Okafor has got the composure and the technical ability to think about actually putting it into a place where the keeper can't manage to get it. That's what it feels like. It never feels like you are convinced. And I think Mecha one-on-one is like this too. Mecha scores some lovely goals, but one-on-one, he just wants to get it on target. And it puts you at such a like the chance that Brendan had, I've watched it a few times. I think he would have been much better placed actually bringing it onto his left foot and going into the other side of the goal, but he won't do that because he's not confident enough to take it onto his weak side, even though it would have been what would have been better for the chance. I think given Brendan's overall ability, I think what he ends up doing is probably the best that he can actually do. And I think it is a decent save. I think he closes the angle down too much. He should probably take it a step earlier, which would have given him more to aim at.
I think so, yeah. He leaves it just that fraction too late.
Yeah.
But like you say, because it's almost like a robot, and it's like programmed to, right, what does it say in the coaching manual? You hit it. Instead of it being natural or, like you say, having that extra thought of, right, what can I do to actually get the ball in the back of the net rather than thinking about areas, it just runs. I mean, that's the best chance I've seen us have at Wembley in all those appearances. I can't remember a better chance we've ever had at Wembley.
I mean, the Dan James chance that nearly went in was probably, I suppose, a closer finish because it was so close to going over the line as well. But I know what you mean. It's his best, clearest one-on-one kind of moment. I'd argue, though, that the Calvert-Lewin chance is better. Okafor floats it over perfectly. It's a bread and butter Dominic Calvert-Lewin header. He has to head it into the ground. I mean, I know I've seen JV's comment, and I know that you weren't happy with Calvert-Lewin's performance yesterday either. He wasn't good. But what I was getting mostly frustrated with yesterday was that people weren't getting around him. There were so many times where he were winning flick-ons, or he was competing with the defender to the point where it was popping the ball up into different areas. And it wouldn't matter whether he won it or not anyway, because Brendan, Noah, the midfield were nowhere near him to win them seconds. So sometimes a player like him, he has an unenviable task at the best of times. Like you're asking him to go up against 4 defenders and do it all on his own most of the time anyway. So if you've got nobody around him that's doing, the second phase of that, it's not all on him, because you see him win a flick on and it drops to nobody. Well, you're saying Dominic Calvert-Lewin's done crap there. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's not completely fair.
What do you think was causing that then? Was that lack of runners? Was that maybe the occasion? Was that, players were playing lead in the boots a little bit? There just wasn't that kind of, I don't know, maybe it was a defensive first kind of thought that held them back from closing that space. I mean, I wonder why that occurred.
I think we were so nervous. We were kind of caught within ourselves. I think the pressure did funny things to him yesterday. There were so many times where the ball were like obviously going to go a yard this way, but they were already a yard this way, and it were then meaning that they were chasing shadows and they were chasing second balls. I mean, the goal is an absolute mess. By Pascal, he's not just on his own. Though. The midfield were all over the place as well. Pascal were chasing Pedro. At one point, I saw him at right back, at Chelsea's right back spot. Pascal had gone all the way with him. That's instructional. So I put that on Farke. If you're going to play 5-3-2, they clearly, there's a man less in the midfield if they're playing 3 and we're playing 2. So one of the defenders has to go with him. But then don't play 5-3-2 if that's the way that you're then going to leave open spaces in the back line. But if the players in the back line had done their job better, it would have been all right. Because Bogle had shifted across, Justin had shifted across into centre back, and Biol had done what he does at centre back. So there was a few things that went on yesterday, but I put a lot of that first half down to they just didn't have the composure, the experience, the mentality to be able to deal with it. But the fans don't help with that. We were desperate to keep hold of the ball for a little bit. In that first half, we were getting the ball. We were not dealing with the press because they were playing 3 right on the edge of the box. We were playing it out from Perry to Pascal and going long and giving them the ball back. That's pretty much the flow of the game until we conceded, right? But then when we did try and put his foot on the ball, the Leeds fans right behind him were going, just get rid of it. You know what I mean? And they're shitting themselves because they're trying to actually then build out. You have to be brave to play through a press. You got no other alternative. So it's a combination of so many things, mate. We've mentioned even chances that we've had there and we didn't take them. That's composure. That's not on the manager. It's not on the tactics. It's just on the individual, innit?
Well, this is it. Yeah, I mean, it's those moments. I mean, if Aronson pops that in, I think that judging by the character of this Chelsea team, I would say would have been highly favourites to then go on and win the game.
I agree.
It's a moment. It's a huge moment that doesn't happen. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's header. I mean, and he's done that. I mean, he had one at Old Trafford, didn't he, where he kind of, didn't quite do enough with it. And it feels like that should be his bread and butter, that kind of chance, because that was probably one of the few times Okafor actually kind of had a final product where it actually created something in the game. And he's got to bury it. He's got to do a lot more than what it was.
It was in his head, wasn't it, in the end? And
it's a really difficult one with Calvert-Lewin because he brings so much to it, but the chances he's missed in the last, I would say, 3 months, he's missed a hell of a lot of chances. Now, we knew this about him. We knew he was one of the lowest performing XG strikers, in the Premier League in the last few years. And it's a difficult conversation for the summer, I guess, and it'll be interesting to see what we do in that area because it's just, he's got to do a little bit more there. In terms of other things, go ahead, mate. Go on.
I was just going to ask. That's not true with Gavin's comment, is it? About 0 goals from open play in the last 15. It's not true, is it? Because we scored against Manchester United, scored against Wolves, scored against West Ham. Yeah, no, that's not true.
No. Yeah, we've definitely had open play goals. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of kind of the other way, their goal, I mean, Strauch, it was kind of, it's funny because we just praised him after the Bournemouth game, saying, the mistakes and the nervousness seemed like a thing of the past, and then he's done exactly that. I mean, I know, gets jumped into, doesn't he? Neto jumps into him, but he still wins it, but then completely fluffs the distribution, and you're punished. I think James Justin's ball watching, not sure where the man is arriving behind him. It's difficult. It's a well-timed run, obviously. But we get to half-time. Farke rings the changes. Steven Gerrard, and I caught up with this, he was very critical on comms, apparently. He was saying that Farke should have changed this up first half. Didn't think Campbell and Tanaka were at it in terms of being able to deal with that Chelsea 3. But I thought, look, if you get to half time and then change it, and immediately, Stack has that shot, and you're thinking, well, we're on it. That change of formation, Rodon coming on, Stack coming on, and really, I mean, like we've said, their XG was so low for that second half. It was kind of just us huffing and puffing, but there's no doubt we're on top when their keeper just lies on the ground, and then they have a little team talk. And fair play to Ethan going over and interrupting it as well. I absolutely loved that. But yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, you've mentioned it before. When you're struggling with that three at Chelsea, should Farker have made an adjustment earlier on in that first half? Do you think?
I don't think so. I think it takes. It's very, very extreme. Bear in mind that they'll have been working on all sorts all week, and the main structure and tactic now that everybody said is exactly what it should have gone to before he even thought about it, apparently, was the 5-3-2 or the 3-5-2. So I think, after 20, 25 minutes, it's more on the players not making the game plan work, in my opinion, than it was the tactics. I think, to make a drastic change like that at that point would be pretty damning. I think half-time, I think he really does go balls to the walls to make the change. The only disappointment that I saw with the starting lineup, in my opinion, I'd have started Rodon and I'd have played Justin at right back. I'd have dropped Bogle. And I felt like that after the game as well, because I thought Bogle was really poor. It gave us one good moment of attack in the first half where he ran the ball down the right-hand side, but I thought defensively, I thought he was getting absolutely... It was scaring me to death every time Garnacho ran at him. I just don't think he gave us that defensive solidity that we really needed to. So I think I'd have started Justin and I'd have played Rodon. I understood why Stack wasn't starting, and I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair given the situation. I'd have played Brendan more narrow in that first half to clog up some of them gaps. But the small adjustments based on everything else that we've done well recently that's worked. So I think the timing of the change was fine. I just think you needed more from your individuals. I don't think Ethan and Tanaka were anywhere near it yesterday, if I'm honest. They'd shown that they were capable of dealing with Chelsea's midfield situation. And we've not seen the Lavia, Caicedo and Enzo 3 when we've played them. I do really like Romeo Lavia. I mean, all three of them at the quality, absolute quality. But they didn't do themselves any favours. You saw a Tanaka performance of why he wasn't starting up until recently. You did. And you saw alongside him a captain in Ethan Ampadu that just didn't have one of his best games. I don't think he's in that bucket of players that can't deal with the pressure. I don't think that's him at all. No. I don't think he had a great game yesterday, unfortunately.
No, exactly. And it's, again, I mean, it's one of them positions that will be up for debate in the summer in terms, can you add a little bit more maybe in there? I mean, obviously a fully fit Stack, I think, would have helped massively from the off. I just think certain players, and I feel Stack is definitely that. It's that mental side as well, isn't it? Being able to handle the occasions and stuff. And
big game player, innit?
Big game player, yeah, absolutely. Couple of worrying things at the end. I mean, Gabby is limping about. I mean, why was Metcha still passing to him? Like, what are you doing? You're fucking brain dead. Like, what are you passing? He's like limping around but he's got one leg and we're passing to him. Like, what are you doing?
Players,
lads. Bloody hell.
It might not have been clear when you're not there, but obviously when you're watching the game, the players clearly didn't realise that Gabby couldn't come off. We'd already used all of the subs, but the players were talking at the bench saying he's injured, and like Farker's like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, there's no one can do. Come off if you need to come off. Like, you could see him saying go off, but then Gabby didn't want to come off. But then every time he got given the ball, he's like, well, what am I meant to do with that? I can't move. Like, a hamstring injury is bad, isn't it? Like, you can't really operate anything. You can't get through it. It's not like an ankle or a knee or something like that. So yeah, Paul Ladworth was absolutely screwed. And I mean, I didn't think he had a good game yesterday either.
I don't think he's been playing freely though. The last 2 or 3 games, I feel like he's looked restricted.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that one with Gabby as well. Huge blow if he is injured there. Okafor, what did you make of his performance?
Meh. He didn't give enough. He didn't do enough. But we do put a lot of pressure on him at the same time. You know, we're kind of looking to him for an answer at all times. And he tried, he got to the byline a couple of times, but his quality wasn't there. But then when he did give us that X factor moment of a delivery, Calvert-Lewin didn't put the ball in the back of the net. So you can all, if we'd have equalised from that, it would have been saying brilliant. Nobody else would have been able to deliver that. Excuse me, sorry, Gasser. Didn't deliver that ball in that way. You know what I mean? And that's what he's capable of doing. That's what he's there to do. So he's done his job in many ways, hasn't he? I thought they dealt with him well down that right-hand side. When he did get to go out, I thought after a minute, the foul that was right on the edge of the box, that won't get spoken about because we didn't really have anybody to take it. And it took so long to take the bloody free kick because they had a player down from kickoff pretty much. There was a sign of things to come, that wasn't it? But Okafor, I don't know how good that looked at the moment, but it looked to me like he was going to drag it onto his left foot and shoot.
Yeah.
He
had another thing though, didn't he? Is that the same bit where I think it was Calvert-Lewin screaming for it, and he decided to kind of carry on and shot? Oh no, he just shot it at the guy's legs, and it went to.
Yeah. That was later in half, wasn't it?
Yeah, like bloody hell. And that Tanaka free kick at that point, because we were all like, "Come on, 5 miles over the bar." I thought Brendan were good. I thought Brendan, outside that chance, I thought he was one of the few that kind of played his game, the pressing, and I thought it was okay on the ball. He gets knocked off it, a fair few times, but I thought he was kind of on it. I'm glad there were no kind of issues around Perry going in as well. One of my concerns was if something happened there, it'd been another stick to beat Farker with, not picking Darlow. But I'm glad. There was just nothing to really make comment of with Perry or Darlow, wasn't there really, which was decent.
He couldn't do anything with the goal, and everything else that he had to deal with, he dealt with fine. His kicking was overall okay. As for Brendan, I thought he buzzed around a lot. I thought he was the one that was sticking a foot in. There was far too much passiveness in that first half. Leeds players not getting stuck in, and I know some of that was just them being, soft, because they were. Some of the play acting was ridiculous, but we were desperately needing somebody to kind of put a foot in there, and Brendan was doing that. I thought creativity wise he was okay, and obviously he gets on the end of our best chance of the whole game. So you can't really be too critical of him. I didn't think there were many performances from outfield players that you could really give much credit to, but he would be one of them. And the other two were both players that came on at half time in Joe Rodon and Anton Stack. I thought they were the only three that really came out with any sort of credit for the performances personally.
Yeah. Were you behind the goal for Stack's effort then?
Yeah, right behind it. It looked for all the days like it were in.
Oh, could have been an absolute classic that. But there we go. Game kind of fritters out, and that's it. Another year, FA Cup done. Like we said, it was a bonus to this season, really. We can now kind of just fully switch our heads back on to the Premier League. You and I have not had a catch up since the weekend. We were chatting a little bit before we went on.
Should we just before we go to Premier League? Should we do some comments?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, let's have a
just because I'm interested in having a bit of back and forth with some of them.
Yeah, thanks for your comments, guys. By the way, sorry I've not brought any on. Let's have a look. What have we got? What's this talk that we could be facing Gerrard on Friday? Oh, don't tell me that.
Oh, Gerrard, you were just mentioning that before kickoff, actually, weren't you?
Yeah.
No, you were mentioning Parker.
Blimey, could be Gerrard. JB, DCL was useless and he's so poor. He scored some good goals, but he's not consistent. I'd rather have Metcher.
I think that's so harsh, though. Don't you? I know that he weren't great the other day, but he offers us so much overall. And I know that we like Metcher and he scores some. He's a bit more agile and he's a bit more nicer to look at in terms of the way that he plays. But I personally think I think DCL's been so good this season. He's been so important for the way that we play.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Gav, Stack and Rodon to start Friday. We'll wait and see. I think Stack was struggling at the end, though. Apparently he's potentially got a niggle as well from the end of it. You both agree that Strauch should be dropped? No, I don't think he should be dropped. I think he is a bit of a specialist in that left centre back role. What I would say is it's it's just one of those moments. It's just one of those moments. Strout does have it in the locker. We know that. He has got that kind of thing in his locker. He has dopey moments. But it's a shame for him because I think he'll be feeling that one more. You must be, mustn't you, as a player after something.
Listen, I've been a Pascal, not hater, because I don't hate any Leeds player, but I've been a doubter for sure.
Yeah.
But this season he's been excellent. And, you know, all of our players, whether we love them or not, whether we like them passionately or not, it doesn't matter who it is, they're all capable of making mistakes. But that doesn't then detract away from the previous 33 games that he's played either. You know what I mean? So, or 34 games or whatever, you know, however many games he played this season. He's been excellent. He was really poor in that first half yesterday, but he wasn't on his own. He absolutely, you know, Jacobiol, I love Jacobiol. What was he doing yesterday? On a couple of occasions, he just had
that head out.
Yeah, he's literally all the time in the world, and he just heads it straight to I think it was Pedro on the edge of the box. I mean, it's like he's bonkers. So it's not just, this isn't just specific to what Pascal's unfortunate that he was the moment, or that was the moment that then led to the only goal of the game, and because it stands out so much. There were plenty of others. So no, I don't agree with that. I think I do think. Well, I'm almost certain Justin will end up going to left wing back, and we'll see the normal back three on Friday. Or we might end up going 4-2-3-1, because we're playing Burnley at home. Farke might see it as an opportunity to go at him. I still think he'll end up going with the 3 back, however. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Mr. Bell, winning at Wembley isn't for everyone, lads. Don't worry.
Neither's winning at home against York, mate. But you know, here we go.
Yeah, what that was something else, wasn't it? Paul, I was gutted on Sunday. Not so much at the loss, but we still have not scored a goal at Wembley. This is what's killing me. Like, it's just, I'm not even particularly arsed, we're not going to win the FA Cup, so what, like every other year being a Leeds fan. But it's like, I can't compute how it can happen over and over and over again. It is mad. It is.
You know, the general feeling, Browney, yesterday around the fans. Like, I sat in the fan zone for about 3 hours before kickoff, and anybody you spoke to or any conversation that you overheard was just Leeds fans saying, "I think we stand a good chance of winning today, but I just want to see a goal."
Yeah.
Most Leeds fans weren't that bothered whether they won or not. Like, there was a hope, obviously, but they weren't that bothered. There weren't an expectation that we're going to win. They were just wanted to see a goal, to be able to celebrate a goal at Wembley. That's it. And we just, for whatever reason, we just can't. So
just give us a goal, please, please, please. Just before we finish up on that, actually, I did see, and it kind of leads us into where we're talking about here. Yeah, that's it. I won't bother clipping it up, but there's an article dropped today from the Times, and it's saying energy-sapping cup run could yet wreck Leeds' season. Semi-final exposed lack of quality in team, brimming with excellent attitude, and sadly for Farke, many sides are relegated with just that combination, which seems a staggering lack of context in terms of the league position. But obviously it is still alive down there at the bottom, Jay. Now, remarkably, Leeds were the only team to drop points out of the bottom, you know, that bottom group of teams in game week 34, which was, it's a weird thing because we got such a good result against Bournemouth. It was like, well, why are we net negative at the end of game week 34 after such a great point? But obviously Spurs, West Ham winning, Forest blew Sunderland away Friday night, and it just keeps that bottom just ticking over, does it? We can't quite relax yet. But obviously, we've got a huge opportunity to hopefully get to that point with a game against Burnley on Friday. But yeah, how are you feeling about things at the bottom after that weekend?
Well, we spoke about it before we went on air, didn't we? So it's a little bit loaded because, I mean, you know where I've been at with this the whole way through. I've been so chill and calm, and everything that I've kind of said all season has kind of played out in such that we didn't need to really panic. The points have added up. The 1 points in the draws all matter. The teams below us won't keep winning games, which they haven't. And then this week's come. And I mean, we have the hardest game, in my opinion, on form and in terms of the actual quality of the opposition. Bournemouth away is without a doubt, I think, the hardest game. I think Sunderland are crap. And I said it all season. I know that they've done extremely well this season, and Forest deserve massive credit for going there and sticking 5 past them. It's an insane result. The biggest shock, I think, of the weekend was West Ham beating Everton, and it was then in combination with the fact that all 3 of them won. Because usually down at the bottom you don't see that. No. It's very, very rare at the bottom of the Premier League that you see all of the competitors for a particular spot in the bottom 3 end up winning. They're down there for a reason, you know. So, but Spurs limp over the line in an awful performance against Wolves, but they get the job done. First win in 15, 16 games, whatever it is, right? Yeah. So you're then left into a situation where with 4 games to go, we've got a 6-point gap. Now, on the face of that, I'd just be saying it's done. If it were any other team other than Leeds, I'd be saying it's done, and if we weren't involved in it. But then you look at the fixtures, and you have to take into consideration the fact that we play both West Ham and Spurs. So because we play both West Ham and Spurs, if we were to lose to both of them, it's a 6-point swing, right? So it's a 6-pointer in it. It's not a 6-point swing, but it is a 6-pointer. So, you know, straight away, if we lose, I just said this to you before we went on air. If we lose to Burnley on Friday, and then and Spurs win, they know they're going into that game against us at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 3 points behind us with that game. And all of a sudden it changes. Now, I think we go on Friday and we win the game. And at 43 points, everybody starts saying this is crushed. And I still deep down think that 40 points is probably going to be enough. And I've maintained that all season. But I am now, based on the way that the land has shifted, coming to terms with the idea that it might be in and around 40 to stay up. Whereas it's not been for so many years. I mean, the last time somebody went down on 36 points was 9 years ago, I think it was. We haven't seen somebody go down on 40 points in however many years. The record has stood since 2006 when West Ham went down, I think it was, with 42. Yeah. I can't see it being that high because I just don't think Spurs are still going to get to that many points. The one win against the worst team in the division isn't going to change my opinion on that. I still think they're going to struggle to pick up points. But the land has shifted. And it because we play them both, it does leave me a bit worried.
Yeah.
A little worried.
There's definitely a niggle there. As Paul says here, Spurs have just lost their 2 best forwards, yet people think they will win 3 and lose them all. If you ask me. Now, that I'm probably taking more comfort from Spurs because I watched them against Wolves and they were pitiful. I mean, they were really, really poor and quite lucky to beat the worst team in the league. I mean, Wolves were atrocious too, but Spurs were absolutely awful. Like, I don't know how they win 3 games, more games against who they're playing. I really don't. That said, you know, it's football. You never know. Looking at Forest, the thing about Forest is, I mean, you know, 4-0 up against Sunderland in 20 minutes or something stupid. Now, Forest look as if they're kind of, or, you know, remember when they weren't scoring? It was like they just couldn't score, could they? It's like now the floodgates have opened. And
Chris Wood made a massive difference, mate.
Chris Wood come absolutely amazing. You know, that focal point. And they've got some difficult games. You know, they've got Chelsea away, they've got Man United away, they've got Bournemouth as their last game. They've got difficult fixtures, but I do think they're capable of, you know, nicking points or even wins in them because I think they are so good. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White, I mean, he's got to be in the England squad for the World Cup. There's no way you can't have him out of that England squad for the World Cup. I mean, he's miles ahead of Phil Foden, for example, at the minute. Foden's not even getting any minutes, so you've got to have him above him. They're just absolutely fine. West Ham, I mean, you know, they're just doing no things out there. They're picking up wins. I mean, I absolutely thought when Everton equalised, that is it. They've dropped points, great. And then somehow they conjure up a win. And, you know, they've kept themselves towards the top of that top form table for what feels like a long time now. They go a couple of games without win, but they're getting regular wins. You know, and they're only 4 points behind us. So I think it's fit. You know, there is a world where they can catch us up. Like I say, they've got the game against us. For me, I'm looking at Spurs just being cut off. I just don't see how Spurs can turn it around from here. Not especially now if Xavi Simons is out. Solanke, I just don't see how they conjure up more victories. But what I would say is that Friday night game against Burnley, there's a bit of pressure with it. There is a bit of pressure with it now. If we can turn up and do what we did against Wolves and just dispatch them, and it's comfortable and easy, fantastic, love it. My kind of Leeds PTSD is going, oh, is it going to be one of those nights? Burnley last couple of seasons under Parker, we've not been able to beat them. It's going to be interesting. They were quite decent against Man City as well. So there is a little bit of edge with it. But if we win that, Jay, 43 points, I think, it's 100% done.
Done, yeah,
it's absolutely done. But
yeah, I mean, going into game week 35, and there's still
still potential that
something could happen.
Look, and I'm going to say this, and I've said this time and time again this season, and again I've been proved to be right with it. People are going to lose their mind when I say this. It's not a must win. It's not. It's still not, because we're on 40 points. And we do have other opportunities to put it right. Like if we didn't win this game and then lost to Spurs, if we could go and pick up a point against Brighton, and 42 would still probably be enough.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you the reality of the situation. So it's not like, remember when we played in the relegation season? I think we played Newcastle, and we drew 1-1.
2-2, I think it
2-2.
was. 2-2.
That was a must-win game.
Yeah.
Like there's times where there is must win attached to it. For Spurs, every game is a must win.
Well, that's the nightmare. When you're in games where it's must win, you're already you're on the Titanic sinking.
You're literally
at the stage of that. Forget it.
Your back is so to the ropes. Now, thankfully, we're not in that position where the pressure is that drastic. When we the season that we stayed up, the Norwich game was a must-win, and Rafinha cuts it back to Joffrey, and we score, and we'd win 2-1. That was a must-win game, because if we hadn't won that game, we would have gone down regardless of what happened at Brentford away. Yeah, so there's these moments, and that's why I just always push back on this narrative of must-win, because it's not. But it's a hugely important game, because it then puts us in a position where we don't have a must-win game against Spurs, Brighton, or in even fact against West Ham on the final day of the season. And I still believe that Spurs will struggle to break 40 points.
Yeah,
I think they'll struggle to break point per game.
Yeah.
At 38.
Well,
but
I mean,
the close.
Sorry. Yeah, what would they need to? I mean, they'd have to win to overtake. I mean, bear in mind they've got worse goal difference than us. It's only 3 worse, so if they get a couple of wins, they might overturn it. But they need 2 wins plus the goal difference. They need us to lose 2 games. I just don't see how they do it. Looking at them, I really don't. I just don't see how they do that at all.
I don't, and I don't see West Ham doing it as well.
No.
West Ham could do it, but I don't see them both doing it. And that's what you're talking about. If you're going to finish up 42, 43 points in 18th, I don't see it. But there is a big gap to the bottom 2.
Yeah.
There's a lot of points coming from them that are then being farmed out through the rest of the division. You're also seeing some of the teams in and above us dropping like stones. I said to you before coming on air, if we're in it and we're 2 points behind Newcastle, and Newcastle in it, because all of a sudden people are talking 42, 43 points. Newcastle are in awful form. If they lose their next 4 games, and Newcastle are going to go down on 42 points, most people would say no.
Exactly. Well, I was looking at them actually, because West Ham have got Newcastle. Newcastle.
Forest have got Newcastle too.
Yeah, Forest have got Newcastle as well. So if it'd be nice if Newcastle could, turn up and show something. That would really help us out. But you look at West Ham's fixtures. I mean, Brentford away. They've got Arsenal as well. So you just fancy them not to get anything there. I think Arsenal winning at the weekend, it might have just kick them on a little bit. But like you say, I am a little bit squiffy with us playing both them, because if we were to lose them 2 games and give them 3 points, You know, I mean, it's only 6 points to Spurs. That is not impossible. That's not an insurmountable turnaround. You know, if we just, when you look at 40 points, you think, well, we can't. But when you look at the actual points, 6 points, it's not insurmountable, but it should be fine.
The worry with Spurs, just saying Lou's comment, the worry with Spurs is that the win at the weekend gets that monkey off their back and they can all of a sudden now start finding some form. Now, it doesn't look like it. You know, people talked up the Brighton performance as if it was like an unbelievable performance. It wasn't. No, and now, you know, the same can be said just because I've won this game. It doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden now a really good team, because they're not. You know what I mean? So I personally think that they're still the team to watch in terms of the one that are going to go down. But if they can catch Villa, because I think Villa play Forest on Thursday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If they can catch Villa on a bad game, Villa have been hot and cold, and they don't need to really win any more games to finish top 4, top 5. They're going to qualify for Champions League anyway. The Europa League is going to be more important to them. They might catch Villa at a bad time, and if they do, if Spurs win and Leeds don't this weekend, then we're sweating.
Yeah.
Even on 40, even if we were on 41 points, I'd start to sweat because you know what, that leave it at 4 points with them to play on the Monday night, the following Monday. Yeah, it's tricky, and I think if Newcastle lose this weekend, I know Lou's saying that, but if Newcastle lose this weekend and Spurs and West Ham both win, Newcastle will be looking over their shoulder. They will, because Newcastle are on such poor form.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting question for Louis. A genuine question for you both. And it's a big if Howe leaves us at the end of the season, would you take him over Farke, despite his recent successes? Statement of intent to go to the next level. What say you, Jay?
I think Eddie Howe is a bit of a. I think he's tactically okay, but I don't think he's tactically great. I think he's a great man manager. I think he's a great inspirer of people, which is a huge part of being a football manager, but it's only a certain part. And I think that's why he's now starting to struggle, along with some of Newcastle's inefficiencies in recruitment and you know, or even some of them have been capped from PSR and all the rest of it. I think there's more than one reason, is what I'm getting to. But I don't think you get that much from Eddie Howe at Leeds at this stage that Farke's not already bringing, personally, because I think Farke's a great man manager as well. I think he's a great inspirer of people, and I would much prefer, I think, to just have the continuity and the calm, the relax, the players have bought into Farke. I would rather have another season of consolidation under what we already have. Personally, I'd lean on that side of things. If Farke was to leave or be removed for whatever reason, Eddie Howe would be a great shout in terms of then that transitional for 2-3 seasons.
That's where I'd be at.
Yeah,
I wouldn't get rid of Farke to get Howe now.
Yeah.
But if, you know, for whatever reason Farke left, Howe would absolutely be on that list of, you know, contenders. Definitely, yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. It's interesting with Howe, though, isn't it? I mean, because he had a large say over the transfer. If I'm right, Lou, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but didn't he have a large say in the kind of transfer recruitment last year because of all the problems they had with directors of football and all that kind of thing? He had a large say in it. I remember at his time. And do you remember towards the end of Bournemouth, he had some absolute stinkers.
He took Bournemouth down, mate.
Then,
he got Bournemouth relegated. And then he left them, and Scott Parker brought them back up.
I think so, yeah.
Then Gary O'Neill saved them, and then Gary O'Neill was removed, and Iriola came in. Right, I think that's the route. So yeah, I think there's a shelf life for Eddie Howe, like there is for most managers. That's not a criticism of him directly, but like I say, that's what I think. When I watch Newcastle, I've had the luxury of watching Newcastle a few times live in the Champions League, and I always get the feeling that this is a really inspired team. It's a team that are really behind working for the manager, but tactically it's very basic. That's just the feeling I get when I watch them. It's not the same as when I watch Bournemouth and Iriola, as an example, who's a great example of it. It's tactically brilliant. to watch, and he's getting more out of his players because of how brilliant the tactical genius is behind it.
Is it rah-rah? Is it a bit rah-rah?
I think so. You know, when I think back to when Newcastle first kind of started to turn under him, it was all him taking them out go-karting, taking them on ventures and team meetings and inspiration, and the way that he spoke in interviews, and I can just imagine him in the dressing room. Mad Dog, bloody his assistant, I forget his name now. Tyndall, yeah, Jason Tyndall, innit? You know, like that whole thing together created that drive to send them that way. But that can only last so long. Once you get used to hearing somebody's voice and to hearing somebody's the same, it starts to die out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Gav, don't want how. Lou, completely agree, but an interesting scenario. Pre-season was horrendous. Signings for big money haven't worked, and his in-game decisions and subs have been questionable this season. We're nearly there, Jay, in terms of securing Premier League survival. I mean, I almost can't believe. I mean, I remember a few games ago when you and I said we're just done with this season. we just want it to end, and obviously I think the FA Cup's obviously tickled our fancy and kept a bit of life in the season. And I mean, we're right there now, 4 games away, Jay. I think what I would say about this team and why I'm confident for Friday is they've delivered in almost every moment we've really needed them to. I mean, you know, look, yeah, we've just lost the cup semi-final, but narrow margins and all the rest of it. I think if you look at the league, this team have delivered again and again. One thing I am actually that I think is a bit of a concern for me, and a lot of Leeds fans won't agree, is Ilya Gruev's out for the rest of the season. I think he's a miss in terms of that player you can bring on for Tanaka or whoever in the middle that covers you defensively and just gives you that kind of reassurance at the back. I think we'll miss that a little bit because I think it kind of restricts what we can do with that central midfield. I mean, central midfield wise, we don't know where we stand with Stack. We don't know how fit he is, how much he's going to be able to be involved. You know, if you're just looking at Ethan and it being Tanaka, and I think Tanaka's very inconsistent. I think he's got mistakes in him. I think he's, you know, his engine's kind of at times, you know, he struggles with the full 90. Obviously brilliant as well, love him, but I think it's a bit of a miss that we haven't got Gruev for the rest of the season, me personally.
I think you're underplaying it. I think it's a massive miss. I think it's a massive miss. Going to Spurs on Monday the 11th of May, I'd want Ilya Gruev starting the game.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sorry, I would, especially if we don't win on Friday. I'd want Ilya Gruev starting in that game. I wouldn't want Tanaka starting in that game.
Is that the game after? Is it the game after Burnley?
So we'll play Burnley on the Friday.
Oh God! If it's not done by then, I'm going to be in bits on that Monday. Oh my God!
We play Spurs on a week on Monday. So 2 weeks today. 2 weeks today we play Spurs. So yeah, it's massive, mate. It's massive. I think, you know, we all know that the Burnley game is going to be important. Like I say, it's not a must win, but it's very, very important. I'd go with the same team again. Bar a couple of movements here and there, depending on the injuries and availability and whatnot. But just get it done. Get out there and really stick Burnley to the sword and try and make sure that we don't have these situations going into these last few games, because it would start to get hairy real quick. Yeah. Because at this stage of the season, it does. It turns really, really quickly. I mean, I'm fascinated by this weekend's football. I'm looking forward to it in many ways, especially if we get the win. You know, Forest are a funny one because Forest come on and just spinning it back to another one of the relegation candidates, but Forest get a great win against Burnley after being 1-0 down, score 4 goals. They then go and beat Sunderland 5-0, so they scored 9 goals in 2 games, right? And they've got all this European kind of ventures going on as well. But they'll be still looking over their shoulder, even the 1 point below us. But their fixtures are awful.
Yeah,
they've got some really, really tough fixtures. So they will be really, really worried still. They had to win them 2 games when you look at them. You know, the Forest and the Burnley and Sunderland games.
No, you bang on. They've got Chelsea and Man United away. That's 2 of the fixtures out of there. And Bournemouth, who were better away from home. They've had better results away from home at Bournemouth. And they've got Newcastle sandwiched in there. You know, we don't know what Newcastle will do in that game. They'll probably be targeting 3 points at home. I don't quite know how Forest have got away with this season in a way. I mean, they've been through 4 managers, 4 completely different managers as well. They've gone from one style to another. They've landed on Vitor Pereira, and he's done, a top job. I don't know how they've done it. I think just basically Pereira's gone in, done what he did at Wolves, where he got, managed to rejuvenate them. I could easily see Forest staying up and them sacking him in,
5 games into the new season, doesn't win, he's gone, and the whole merry-go-round starts again. But it's crazy, how do you get away with 4 managers in a season, and it's somehow, you pump 9 goals in your last 2 games. It is wild, but the quality of players, isn't it? Really, that's what comes through.
Yeah, it is. I think they're the best side down there. To be honest, I think Forest have got the most within the squad.
Yeah.
Out of the 4, I think Spurs have got some quality in there that should be doing better. But I think if you picked up Spurs' players and put them in at West Ham or Leeds, and we were still in this position, I don't think you'd be as confused. I think the name Spurs plays a huge part in it.
Yeah.
Whereas Forest, I look at their squad and I think about their actual quality on paper and watch them. They've got some serious quality. Even when they were losing games on the regular, they were still creating lots of chances, which tells me that they're an all right team. Because creating chances is the hardest bit, really. And putting them in the net is the hardest bit. But creating chances tend to be the second. You don't get that many. You know what I mean? So when you're down there. I think it's mad. It is mad that they've got away with it. It felt like they were a car crash from word go this season, didn't it?
Well, I mean, for me, it's like everything about them is so extreme. Like the way they recruited, the way they, brought so many players in, and they got Morgan Gibbs-White, and and they really flushed the team with quality. Which is, when we had Bielsa last time, we didn't really have the owners or the money to do that. And, that's why you're ending up playing Forshaw with 2 games to go in the bloody Premier League. But it's kind of a sign of the times that kind of wildness almost works in this in the state football is in, with the money and everything like that. It's like you kind of have to gamble in that way. It's bizarre that it's kind of, if they survive, that it somehow worked. But I would probably have concerns about them maybe going forward. But I mean, I don't know. It seems to work for them anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely will. That'll be the conclusion that we come to. But I do think there's a bit of a closing door moment for them, and it was keeping on Morgan Gibbs-White. If Morgan Gibbs-White had gone to Spurs would have had another 10 points at this point of the season, regardless of how mental that they'd been, and Forest would have I don't know, however many less, 5 to 10, because they've had so much batshit going on this season. Without him, they wouldn't have had them key moments to keep them up. He's such a difference maker. So they've kind of gone through all of this craziness to get to this point. But I think without that moment, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. I think the batshit would have taken them down.
Yeah, I agree. Gavas here. Burnley low block, or will Parker give youngsters a go? Where does ego manager come into this, do you think, Jay? When, Parker's probably looking at Farker thinking what could have been a little bit, similar trajectory of managerial career in a lot of ways, a lot of kind of similarities between them. Obviously, both teams got 100 points last year. If he's still in charge on Friday, I don't know. I've got a feeling he's going to want to put a dent in Farker's party a little bit, like a personal reason to do it.
Yeah, I think that will have existed though in the other games as well. He'll have gone to Forest wanting to win that game to bring them into the mire a little bit more and prove himself. That situation will have existed all season. The reality is we came up neck and neck last season, both on 100 points. And Daniel Farker's got his team to finish on double the points at the minute. He's got double the points that Scott Parker's got. So you have to give him a lot of credit. And bear in mind, like, the recruitment between the two sides weren't that different, really. No. We spent 100 million overall. I think they didn't spend far off that. They made a lot. They, unfortunately for them, recruited too many that they then had to stick with this season. Zaya Fleming, Jadon Anthony as an example, like, they didn't have the same wiggle room. They lost some big players this summer, whereas we really didn't in the same way. They lost James Trafford, they lost Egan Riley, and they lost Brownhill, who were three massive players for them last season. Whereas, you know, that's like us losing Ampadu, Rodon, and, well, I can't say a keeper because that doesn't. Caldalo, it doesn't really, but still, like, you know, in our team last season, you know, the key elements, I suppose we've developed on top of them. When I think about that, you know, if you were looking at in our team last season, Mano Solomon's been replaced by Noah Okafor, Joel Perreault's been replaced by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You know, we've been able to evolve them players, but they then spent 20 million on Amando Broya from Chelsea. So it's poor recruitment. Whereas we got our recruitment right. So, yeah, I don't have any sympathy for him as such. I think it's just a testament to how well we've done. And Friday, regardless of what Parker's got to kind of prove, I think it's on Farker. But more importantly, it's on the players to just go and make it happen. You know, we've got a bit of a sticky run against Burnley. We lost them against at home last season. We drew away. We then lost away at Turf Moor in a real, you know, pretty bland performance earlier on this season. That were a game we should have won, really, and we need to make sure that we just get the job done this time.
Great. Talk about sliding moments, as John says here. Leeds interviewed Parker and chose Farker over him. Keeping one eye on the Championship, looking at potential teams that will be coming into the Premier League next year. They've only got a game left for most teams there. Obviously, we know Coventry are up. And it's a mammoth task, ahead for what they're going to be hoping for a Sunderland-esque. They've got a bit of room that they can kind of throw cash at it. Ipswich looking likely to take that second spot, and they're going to be an interesting prospect coming up again. Ipswich, in the Premier League last time, they'll be a little bit more wiser to it, more experienced. It looks like they're going to pit Millwall now. And then you've got, Southampton. I just think they'll smash through the playoffs. I can't see anyone else beating them in the playoffs.
Well, you don't know the fixtures by the sound of that, do you?
No. Why? What's the thing?
Tomorrow night...
is it Ipswich, Southampton?
Southampton and Ipswich have both got a game in hand. So Southampton and Ipswich play each other tomorrow. But if Southampton win that game, Southampton then got 79. You've got them on 79, Middlesbrough on 79, Millwall on 80, and Ipswich on 80 with one game to play. So if Southampton beat Ipswich tomorrow, you've got a 4-way shootout for one position in the automatics. Now that is like liquid final day stuff. That is class, isn't it?
So, and then I'm looking at final day. So Ipswich have got QPR final day of the season. Yeah, I bet that's quite favourable, isn't it? QPR at home to go up automatically. Yeah, that's not bad, is it?
It depends on. I don't know what the goal difference situation is. Just seeing that Gav's got Wrexham have got Borough. Who have Millwall and Southampton got?
Millwall have got Oxford at home.
That's winnable. Really winnable.
Yeah, that's. Let's see who the other one is. Oh, it's decided to stop working. Lovely. Who's the other one? Are we checking? Who do we want to check? Southampton. Let's see who Southampton have got. So Southampton have got Preston away.
Winnable as well.
Southampton. That'd be interesting. That
Southampton deserve massive credit because they've come out of nowhere. Their start to the season was horrendous. Without the opening 15 games, I think it was something like that. Southampton have been home and hose as second place. The form since the turn of the year has been insane. And the Brazilian lad that they signed from the German leagues, Cienza, I think his name is, unbelievable little player. He'll be in the Premier League, I would have thought, next season. Yeah. Millwall, it's so Championship that we're talking about Millwall potentially getting automatic promotion. But they've done unbelievably well. They're competing in against some massive teams up there. It's been helped by the fact that Southampton had such a slow start and the fact that Leicester have been so pathetic, who have now been confirmed as relegated. It just shows you how karma can come back around and bite you on the arse. So, yeah, Championship's incredible, mate.
Do you think, though, if Ipswich and Southampton come up, two recent Premier League teams, it's a little bit stronger than possibly we're hoping for. Before I was thinking maybe Borough, Millwall joining Coventry, and it's like three newbies to the Premier League in this era. But with Southampton and Ipswich coming up, does that feel a little bit like that stronger competition next season?
I'll be honest with you, don't.
Yeah.
I watched Ipswich against Portsmouth last week, and Portsmouth won 2-0. I think it was at Fratton Park. Ipswich were terrible. They had, I always forget his name now, the tall goalkeeper in net that's been there years. They had Johnson at right back, who were at West Ham for a long time.
Yeah.
They had Jack Clark in there, is their best player. They had Hurst up front, who's just bang championship.
Yeah.
They had signs at the time from Norwich in the midfield. And I'm just looking through the team and I'm just thinking, Leif Davis is still there at left back. I'm just thinking, this is just a championship team. They stand next to no chance, in my opinion. And they're not going to have the recruitment.
No. Well, they won't have the space, will they, as well? Because they've spent a lot of money when they went up, and then they've got to have championship losses on the... Yeah.
Well, no. There's always going to be the potential for somebody to get it perfectly and then bridge that gap. But the likelihood is that the three of them will really struggle, and they'll probably find themselves in an amount around where Burnley are this season.
Yeah. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. We just need to get our stuff done.
Yeah.
Just get our stuff done. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much to everyone who commented and got involved. If you've not done so already, please do like the video, get subscribed to the channel as well. The rest of the boys are on later with the Monday Roundtable show discussing non-league Bradford City and Huddersfield Town, so do check that out later this evening. Myself and Jay will be back to have a chat about the Burnley game. It won't be Friday night, but will be hopefully some chance over the weekend.
We're going to preview it Friday morning?
I can't Friday morning. I'm basically out for the entire day, unfortunately, so I might not even get a preview in. I know, bad times, but we'll definitely get our say on it at some point over the weekend, and fingers crossed it goes our way. But thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon. I've been Stephen Brown with me, Jason Booker. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.